Hi, Tim Ria, host of Digital Health Live. We're here in Santa Clara at the HealthTech Capital event. Great to see my friend Jack Young, who's a GP, general partner at dRx Capital, because that's new, and we were at the Digital Summer Summit.
We talked about it earlier. So this actually has been, believe it or not, it's almost a year. We launched at JP Morgan. dRx Capital is a joint investment company between Qualcomm and Novartis, which is unprecedented. Imagine that two different industry giants form together to go after digital health, especially digital medicine, right? Digital pharma. So I'm very excited about that.
So what does that mean, digital pharma? You're talking about the Proteus digital health type of companies that do analytics sensors tied then with what?
Very good question. So the way, if you look at it, digital health has evolved the last couple of years. Well, obviously, I know Raquel's always doing a good job to frame it. But if you look at it, the healthcare is coming from all the way to consumer to medicine, right? So if you look the last couple of years, lots of things down on the consumer level, right? Obviously, we being a very big ecosystem player in that, Fitbit is a good example, consumer-driven. But if you look at it, when we talk about health traditionally are done based on evidence, right? So like in medicine, how you do in the clinical trials, you establish the evidence, and hence you sell to the physicians. So I think to date, the market has established itself. There's already early indications that people call themselves digital therapeutics instead of just an application, a wearables one out. So they are going there selling against pharmaceutical products. Well, not necessarily again, but could be complementary to that and deliver unprecedented values to patient. For example, if you were to be, lots of patients has adverse or even effective to drugs, side effects are very common. Now, if you're using a digital therapeutics, you can almost sure that there is no side effect because you are using your own wills and powers to do that, right?
Okay. So give me an example of some interesting emerging companies that are hot.
So we just continue on that theme, right? So digital health based on evidence, right? You cannot just say, hey, here's an app, it will do good for you, do wonder for you. Some people may get away with that, but in most cases, if you say, hey, I wanted the payers to pay for that, third party to pay for that, you have to go through the same thing. You have to go through the evidence. So one of the companies we invested in and very excited about, and then here too, is a company called Omada Health. Yeah. So Omada Health, what they did, which is very clever, is that they realized in order to position themselves as a digital therapeutics company, they have to establish the evidence. And fortunately, there are evidence out there. People already done this kind of work before. So there's a protocol, well-established protocol, CDC, did trials 10, 15 years ago called DPP, Diabetic Prevention Program, which basically established the evidence that if you do a mild exercise through group setting, healthy living, and all those things, can reduce the type 2 diabetes onset by 50%, right? So that's very powerful. Now, what was done the study before, 10, 15 years ago, they didn't have the convenience, so they have to do the brick and mortar way, so they get people together, So as you can imagine, it's not very effective because inconvenience. But today, imagine we get the smartphone, we get the wearables, and beauty is you can have a scale at home to keep you honest, and then all the social media. So Omada is a beautifully designed program, basically leverage the DPT's evidence, and I think it's doing very well because as you imagine, especially the self-insured population out there in the United States, over 80 million lives in that, and for them, this is a great way to get everybody healthy. Not only just, as you imagine, obesity is root cause for many other chronic disease, right? So even though it was proving effective on type 2, but Omada and the other industry partners are actively working towards to demonstrate evidence that through this program, not only work for diabetes, but also for hypertension, other type of chronic disease.
Yeah, we're kind of seeing population data being aggregated for, say, men my age, 44 years old, through... Oh, nobody knows that. Well, don't say that. We'll cut that out. So what's interesting is we're seeing a lot of data analytics, big data, AI. How does that all play in the space you're working in?
Yeah, that's obviously, as you said, big data analytics, AI. These are very, very big words, right? So there are so many datas out there. The one that I'm particularly interested in is not necessarily just mining established data. For example, there are lots of companies doing a fantastic job mining EMRs, the claims data, right? Those are so-called static data because it's already there. What I'm really interested to mine the data I've been generating in real time, for example, right? Yeah, the applications, your behavior data, your Fitbit data, your user input real time, or even the environmental data, right? How do you draw a more complete picture of that human, of that person, or in collectively, as I mentioned, the population? How do we leverage that more real time? So that, to me, that's a new dimension of data. And I think to the credit of Samsung, which they coined that, they call it the voice of the body, right, or something like that. But to me, that's great because, and the beauty is these devices application make it seamless, right? Ginger.io, a good example, running things behind. You don't have to do anything, and yet they can tell your mood, right? If you're depressed, if you have a depression, if you're socially contracted on your mobile engagement, that's a good indication. Now imagine. I always tell people, imagine if Robin Williams, for example, had that piece of Ginger.io running on his cell phone, that tragedy can potentially be avoided, right? Yeah. That's the power of that.
Yeah, I think it was, we were at Informed Health. It was like taking the data and putting it at the point of decision. That was interesting. So CES is coming up. I think I always see you at CES. It's a big event, a lot of new products coming out. What's hot for 2016? What do you think? What are you looking for to place some capital into scale?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the most exciting things for us, especially now with the partnership with Novartis, is that to dig deep into digital medicine, right? Yeah. So one of the big promises, personalized and precision medicine, right? Especially in the area of oncology, because people, over 1 million people diagnosed cancer every year. So how do we leverage the advance of next generation sequencing technology, which is promised much faster as well as cheaper. Yeah. So to us, this is a very interesting combination because if you look at genomics, that's big data, right? Talk about big data, it's big data, right? Talk about understanding how the pharmaceutical products are developed. That our partner Novartis understand that very well. So our team possesses a very unique ability to assess in that area. So the area already has produced a number of successful companies. Obviously, the biggest of all is Illumina out of San Diego. They are sort of an enabling technology, allow people to do sequencing faster and cheaper, which is allowed to spawn off a number of application companies, right? For example, one of the things was early success of the NIPT, non-invasive parental test, right? So that becomes a very successful, and most of the payers are paying that, become a standard procedure because it's so, compared to the original method, it's non-invasive and it's much better for the baby and the mother. So that's the early indication of the promise of using the sequencing technology. Other company, for example, on tumor research, right? So Foundation Med is obviously a big success. They come out to the market earlier and quickly established them as a market leader. Roche has partnered with Foundation. But there's a next generation companies are working on that, especially in the areas leveraging the big sequencing data. How do you make a decision faster, continuously, and near real time at the point of care? So at the CES, I don't know if it's CES, but at least you'll see beginning of the year, you'll see lots of these companies coming out, and I believe that gives a huge potential for us to actually really to put personalized and precision medicine onto the roadmap.
Very exciting. And you're the best looking guy in the building, I must say that. Nice work here. You got your devices. So how do people connect up with you?
I'm embarrassed, first of all, to say that.
Come on.
Well, I'm pretty open, so the best way to find me is on Twitter. So I'm always LinkedIn, and obviously dRx Capital has a dRx.com. So thanks very much.
Yeah, no, Jack's a great person. He's very open, fun to be around, super smart. If you can get his time, get it. And I guess we'll see you at the next event. Cheers.